Hello and welcome to the History Show with me, Ori. So today we will be looking at castles from the 1066 and onwards. These are called the Motte and Bailey castles. They are called this because there are two major parts, which are the Motte and the Bailey. The Motte is a hill that would often be artificial and would house where the main defence would be, which is the keep. The keep is where knights would shoot with arrows down at the enemy when it is still protected by a wall. There was usually a big set of stairs leading from the keep to the bailey that was also surrounded by a wall. The entire castle is surrounded by a wall that was a few metres high, and all the knights would sleep and kind of live in these little huts, but they are quite small. However, they are small because there are lots of them in the entire castle, and so they would house a lot of knights. This is the blacksmith, and the blacksmith is where most of the weapons and armours were made and forged. Over here you can see swords, arrows, bows, axes, pickaxes, shovels and much more. They would also have buckets and armour for the horses. Here is all the pieces of iron that they would heat up and forge into different shapes, and over here are some of the ovens that they would use to heat it. Also, they would use a big pit of fire and hot things to melt it as well. Then they would dip it into these cauldrons of water to cool it down. They would also have anvils so they could forge the pieces of iron on them. The traditional weapons used to fight were the sword, which would be very strong but didn't have much range. It depends how long the sword was. The bow, which had a range of about 180 metres and was very powerful on the battlefield, as they could shoot long distances. And there was also the axe, which was very strong but not very ranged, apart from if it was a small one and you could throw it. Also, another fact with the bow, they would use the bow to shoot out of here and at the beginning of a battle, not in the middle or the end, usually. Next, we have the stables, which is where the horses were kept. At the moment, these horses are tied up and they have their armour on, so they are ready for battle whenever it happens. There would also be some livestock in the farm, so they could easily kill them for meat. Delicious. Next, there is the drawbridge, which was guarded, and it also could go up and down, so then the enemy could not cross, because if there was just a bridge, the enemy could just simply run in. Also, there is a deep ditch that is sometimes filled with water surrounding it, so it makes it even harder for the enemies to get in. Also, in some, but not this castle, there would be little holes where they would dump scalding oil through if the enemies got too close. Next, they were made of wood because wood was the easiest piece of resources they could get, as wood was very cheap and there was a lot of it, as you can see from these forests surrounding the castle. But a weakness to that is that it's very easy to be burnt and it can rot very quickly when it gets wet. Motte and Bailey castles appeared in England after the Norman conquest of 1066, and Motte and Bailey castles were a common feature in England by the death of William the Conqueror in 1087. A lot of the time there will be straw on the roofs to insulate it a bit. The motte, which was a big hill, was usually quite tall and was quite steep. The construction of these was the start of what was to become a massive castle building programme in England and Wales. Motte and Bailey castles have been around for 8 centuries and are part of today's history. Well, these guys will be protected very well when the enemies next come to fight them. Okay, that's all from me. Goodbye.